All right, welcome back to another episode of Real Talk Michigan Edition. Jeff here. Dan, what's going on, dude?
The sunshine's in the air, brother. I at work today, I just had a little extra pep in my step because week 0 is this weekend and fantasy foot our draft Saturday, man. It's just I can't wait to be on my fat ass for 2 days in a row watching football.
Totally off topic. We didn't discuss this at all. What is week 0? Like, why is that a thing?
That's a good question. I mean,
I don't understand it.
It's just the week before really gets in the swing of things, and Michigan fans, as us Michigan fans, we really only kind of experienced it one time when they played at Utah in 2015 on a Thursday.
Yeah, it's just super strange. Yeah, that's right. We did play on that Thursday night when Harbaugh came into town. Yeah. It's just a really weird, like, this is week 0. It's like, so these teams just don't matter? Which it is kind of funny that both the 13th ranked Notre Dame Fighting Irish and I think number 6 USC Trojans are both playing week 0, which is kind of fun. But
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, as far as Saturday goes, sitting on our ass drafting fantasy football and watching football, it's going to be gorgeous weather. But I don't know if you've seen like high of like 77 or 78. So it's going to be textbook weather for us. When we get down on the single greatest fantasy football league in this area easily. So
I'm telling you.
Last week we got together, linked up, did the Big Ten West. I got some positive reviews from it. People told me that they listened and they enjoyed it. We're going to do a very similar thing this week. I'm going to kind of tell you how this Big Ten East team did overall, how they did in the Big Ten. We'll talk about some notable games. We'll let you hit the off-season acquisitions, losses, ads, all that crazy stuff. And we'll kind of go from there, and then we'll get out of here. But first, I want to talk about a couple of things. Jim Harbaugh 3-game suspension. Rumors came down that it was basically self-imposed. The university basically hits him with it. Ultimately, this seems to be the ending solution. What are your opinions?
I sure hope so. By doing this, it's really to push back the NCAA and to hopefully show them that Michigan's taking this serious in a way, and in hopes that they just kind of like, all right, you gave yourself a 3-game suspension. All right, we'll ride off into the sunset. And you hope they don't come back and like, 3 games was enough, so we'll add one more on to the next season or whatever. That's what you hope. That doesn't happen. But 3 games should be enough. I mean, compared into what else goes on around the NCAA, that mafia organization. But it is what it is. And Jim Harbaugh's, he's going to be there during game prep, practices, all that stuff. Just won't be on the sidelines. And so we'd assume that. I don't think it's been announced yet, but I would assume that Sherrone Moore is going to be the interim for the first 3.
Yeah, just kind of an interesting, just like timeline of how everything kind of went down. You started with rumors of Jim Harbaugh working with the NCAA on a 3 to 6 game suspension, right, or 4 to 6 game suspension. Then it kind of comes down. Oh, actually, they don't have enough right now to work this out. We're going to move on. No suspension at all. 2 days later, Jim Harbaugh is looking at self-imposing a 3-game. University suspends him 3 games. It's just like a weird kind of timeline. Ultimately, I hate that it's a black eye on this season, but I said it a couple weeks ago when we talked. I don't think it was last week we talked about this. I think it was prior, but champagne problems. Your team's this good. I would rather us be in the news for this with a good football team than have our coach be scot-free, no issues whatsoever, not in the news, and we suck. So I don't really care at this point. I'm over it. NIL news / Michigan partnering news. They come up with a mega deal today. The Sports Illustrated headline says Michigan partners with mega brand in first of its kind deal. The bike Peloton. So this bike came kind of, I don't want to say became popular, but it definitely got massive during COVID with people working out at home and things like that. But it sounds like Michigan's going to partner with Peloton, put these bikes all over the place, all over the facilities, the training facilities, the sidelines this year, and obviously with that, they're saying there's going to be potential NIL opportunities. Opinions on this? I literally told you about this right before we went on air.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about it, so you said something. I mean, I think it's pretty cool. Hopefully, this does, keep adding to the NIL situation in Ann Arbor, because Michigan's not the greatest, but they're not the worst. And we obviously see that, programs like Miami is just throwing dollar bills, and well, not just dollar bills, but throwing bags at recruits and, getting them on campus. So hopefully, stuff like this keeps continuing to happen to make it more appealing. But really cool, and hopefully one day I can get myself a Michigan themed Peloton. I'll buy one.
Yeah. One more thing before we kind of move on to the Big Ten, kind of college football pop culture these days, if you will. Have you had a minute to watch Manziel on Netflix?
I have. I just watched it recently.
Did you? So I guess without giving away the documentary for everybody, because first off, I say this, I've seen my fair share. I don't think I've seen every single sports documentary known to man, but I watch my fair share of stuff, especially topics that I feel like I live during. And obviously, my fandom of college football takes place completely during the Manziel era. There were a couple of things that I just took away from this, but the biggest thing I take away is what's the difference between Johnny Manziel openly admitting to earning hundreds of thousands of dollars via illegal autographs and Reggie Bush's mom taking a couple hundy under the table? Like, what's the opinion? Do you have an opinion on that? I know I'm kind of just putting this on you here. We didn't talk about this. Do you have an opinion on Reggie Bush not having his Heisman Trophy because he supposedly took money, his mom took money or whatever, but Manziel still has his. He'll still be on stage presenting the Heisman. There's been no talk of taking this, even though it is now on air on Netflix. He admits to taking a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
What's your opinions?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess not every situation is the same, maybe. And just like with the NCAA violation things, it's like one school gets punished harder than the other. There's no black and white. But yeah, after watching that, yeah, I don't really have a comment, I guess, between, comparing the two, but I just think that it's silly to look at it now, because what's illegal then is now legal now. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
Overall, what'd you think of the doc? Good, bad, indifferent?
I liked it. I thought when he did the autograph thing, I thought it was like a one-time deal in some hotel room. I didn't realize that they were, going from state to state all off season doing it. I completely missed that part, but I thought it was like a one-time deal. They did it like for a couple hours in a Marriott. I didn't think it was going to be 4 time zones.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is the allegations, the one that got him suspended for a half, that was the hotel situation where they thought they had him, and it turns out, his buddy makes up what's widely known that his parents come from oil money, which is a complete fabricated lie. I thought that was one of the best parts of the whole doc, because we all believed that.
Yeah.
That became like national, like, what's the word? I'm going to use the word folklore now, but like at the time that was like Bible, like, oh yeah, Johnny's parents are just rich. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
It was just a fabricated lie. I think that's wild, honestly.
I thought it was really funny that Kevin Sumlin had a rule about freshmen talking with the media. So Johnny Manziel literally didn't have to do jack shit but go out and ball.
Yeah.
And I thought I thought, before we move on, I thought that like Manziel, he obviously was just a partier. You'd say he had a drinking problem, drug problem, whatever. But I felt like I don't know how to explain it. I don't know. It just I thought maybe sometimes it was a little exaggerated, I guess, on his part.
Well, I mean, it's very apparent that he did not love football. He loved what football gave him the opportunity to do.
Yeah.
So anyways, we'll move on. We'll talk some Big Ten East here. So very similar to how Brad and I do division breakdowns, very similar to how we did last week's West Division. We're gonna go worst to first here. So that means we're starting with Rutgers. All right. Rutgers finished the season 4-8 overall, 1-8 in the Big Ten. They lost their last 5 games, so really an abysmal season. This is a team, weirdly enough, 2 years ago gave Michigan a fight at the Big House during the 2021 season. I always think they're coached pretty well, having Greg Schiano at the helm, but ultimately, Rutgers still bad. What's your opinions on them? Ads, likes, whatever.
So like last year, to branch off on that as well, offense was barely above 17 points a clip. Defense gave up almost 30 points a game, so that was pretty terrible. They were rough to get. They haven't had a winning season since 2014. They're returning 7 defensive starters, and they got a decent linebacking core, so there's a little something to hang their hat on there. But on their losses, they lost 58% of their wide receiving production in yardage and 63% of their touchdowns, according to Athlon Sports. They lost 6-year senior quarterback Noah Verdral. Their key additions, they're getting 2 defensive backs from the portal, Eric Rogers from Northern Illinois and Michael Dixon from Minnesota. Kirk Sriracha, a offensive coordinator, he's also coming from Minnesota, and he was here with Greg Schiano during his first stint here with Ray Rice and all that stuff going on. So, it's about as brief as you can get with them.
Yeah. The weird thing is, and it remains to be seen, because has Schiano been there 2 years now?
I want to say it's been at least 3, 4 maybe.
Really?
Yeah, I could be wrong.
Well, in the late, I call it the late 2000s, like the 2007, 8, 9, 10 range. That's when he coached Ray Rice, the McCourty twins, Logan Ryan, Duron Harmon, dudes that he was putting in the NFL that seemed like Bill Belichick was drafting damn near all of them. He had good defensive players coming out of there, some solid offensive talent. Obviously, Ray Rice, prior to his off the field situation, was a really good running back in the NFL. It seemed like he had some dudes and had a squad there that was like competitive. Rutgers has been bad for quite a while now, and it just seems like he hasn't quite got this team turned around either. Maybe he's outdated at this point. There's a good chance that's possible. Or maybe it just, unfortunately, Rutgers just isn't a program to build with.
Well, real quick too, I know, I don't want to pull the momentum here. So, let's see here. I'm trying to figure out when the hell his freaking first year was there. He was his first run. He was with Rutgers for a long time. All right, so his first year at Rutgers in 2001, he went 2 I'll just tell you the win total all the way up till we get to the good stuff.
Yeah, so hit it.
2001, 2 wins. 2002, 1 win. 03, 5 wins. 04, 4 wins. 05, 7 wins. 06, 11 wins. 07, 8 wins. 2008, 8 wins. 2009, 9 wins. 2010, 4 wins. And then 11, 12, 9 wins. So he had a nice stretch there for sure.
So I just pulled it up too. So basically right where I said 2006, 7, 8, 9, that was literally peak where he was putting in, like I said, Ray Rice, the McCourty twins, Logan Ryan, Duron Harmon. I mean, there was some NFL talent there, guys that went on to win Super Bowls. So he coaches them till 11 and obviously leaves. So he came back in 2020. So this is going to be his 4th season. He did make the bowl 2 years ago. But ultimately, this has been, I would say, a failed second tenure. What do you think? Or do you think it needs time? Because his first tenure took 1, 2, 3, 4, call it 5 years to be decent.
I don't think this one's going to work out because, first of all, he was in the Big East on that first run.
Yep.
And in today's college football, NIL, the playoff, the mergers, everything like that, I think Rutgers is just kind of just going to be a loss in the shuffle. And every 5-10 years they might have a team that can push for maybe 8-9 wins max. But I just think that they're just going to be thrown to the wolves here, and unless they switch conferences, I think that's where they're going to be at. I think they're just cannon fodder at this point.
Do you think it's a situation where maybe it's a Pat Fitzgerald that Greg Schiano just doesn't get fired because he's been there for so long? It's just a kind of an understanding that like Rutgers isn't going to compete at the highest level. Every couple of years they'll be bowl eligible, or is this a situation where Rutgers maybe moves on eventually?
I mean, I don't know. I think if I don't think he would get fired. I think it would be a mutual parting of the ways, resignation, something like that. But yeah, it's a lot different now. And real quick too, looking at that 06 season when they went 11-2, Ray Rice, 20 rushing touchdowns and 1,800 rush yards. And I know he was good, but I don't remember him being that good. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. We'll talk about their schedule real quick. There's a lot of automatic losses on here, in my opinion. They play VTech week 3. There's another Big Ten we just talked about last week that plays VTech. Hang on here. I'm gonna pull it right up.
Illinois, I think. Illinois.
Yeah, that's interesting that VTech plays 2 different. Purdue. No, it's Purdue. Purdue and Rutgers back-to-back weeks.
Oh, yeah. No, you're right.
That's interesting. But anyway, so Rutgers has a pretty tough schedule here. They got Virginia Tech at home, at Michigan, at Wisconsin, home against the Buckeyes, at Iowa, at Penn State. I mean, this is brutal. How many wins you got them for? Off the top of my head, I see 2 that I like. There's another 2 that are coin flips. What's their over under? 2.5?
3.5.
Under 3 wins.
I got them 3-9, and the 3 wins I got them for is Northwestern.
Okay, same.
Temple.
You haven't beaten Temple, okay?
I mean, who knows? I mean,
it's at home.
The only thing is I do like Gavin Wimsatt, their quarterback. I mean, he's not like going to light the world on fire, but he's been in the program for a few years. Now, their next game that they win, and before they go on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 game bender, is
the Wagner Seahawks.
Now, when I did research for my episode on their breakdown, I'm like, who the hell's Wagner? So the Wagner Seahawks are from Staten Island, New York, an FCS program. I'm like, there's no way in hell Rutgers can lose to a team from Staten Island.
Well, timeout here. Okay. I was just checking. Did you happen to look at their record last year or no?
Probably like 1-11.
They were 1-10. They played at Rutgers last year. What do you think the score was? They lost the game. Hint.
45-30.
66-7.
Oh, Jesus.
To Rutgers. Yeah. Oh. Holy cow. All right. So, yeah, that's an easy win. Holy cow. Oh, it just, I always think about stuff like this. Like, if Michigan were to play this game, how many could they score in the first quarter? Like, oh, goodness.
But real quick, looking at the schedule, like when the Big Ten Conference got together and whoever did the schedule, they're just sitting there rubbing their chins and like, who the hell are we going to bone this year? And they're like, you know what? It's going to be Rutgers. I mean, at Wisconsin, Michigan State, at Indiana, okay, whatever. But Ohio State, at Iowa, at Penn State, and then Maryland. Like, that is atrocious. Oh, my God.
Truthfully, I think they play the 4 best teams in the Big Ten.
Oh, yeah.
There's an argument for the 5 best temes in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
There's a sure as hell argument here.
If Rutgers gets bowl eligible, I'll jump in shark infested waters.
It's not happening. It's not happening. Yeah. Anything else on Rutgers?
No, sir.
All right, we're gonna move on to the Indiana Hoosiers. They went 4-8 last year. 2-7 in the Big Ten, and they lost their last game, so nothing crazy there. Take it away.
Yeah, so last year they won 3 September games before dropping 7 in a row. Tom Allen went 14-7 over 2019 and 2020, won the Big Ten Coach of the Year, the COVID year. They are 6-18 so they need a spark. They're losing quarterback Connor Bazelak. He's transferring to Bowling Green. Now I forgot to write this down after I did my preview on this because there's a reason why he went to Bowling Green, and it's either familiarity with the coach there or he's from Bowling Green area, something like that. But there's something that's drawing him to be. They're also losing their backup quarterback Jack Tuttle to Michigan, and for their key additions, I think overall there's like some 20-something transfers, but Taven Jackson,
one of their best players, AJ Barner, going to Michigan as well.
True that too. But Taven Jackson, he's a quarterback from Tennessee. He's originally from the state of Indiana, so we got an SEC quarterback here, I guess. Christian Turner, former Michigan guy, he transferred to Wake Forest. Now he's back in the Big Ten at Indiana. He'll be entering his 6th year. And then Andre Carter from Western Michigan, he had 14 sacks over 5 seasons, so he got a pass rusher. And before I hand it off to you for the schedule, they are over/under at 3.5.
So the one thing I said on the last schedule, and I realized how stupid it was after I thought about it, every single team we go over is, in my opinion, is going to play the top 3 Big Ten teams. Unless your name is Michigan, Ohio State, or Penn State, the rest of these guys have to play, in my opinion, the 3 best Big Ten teams. And then it just so happened that Rutgers had to play Iowa. And I think Iowa's 4th. But it just goes to show you how much a gauntlet the East Division is, truthfully. And I'm sure we'll talk about that throughout. But yeah, so Indiana obviously opens up with Ohio State, which is kind of fun. It does seem like Ohio State has played these Big Ten team openers a few different times over the last couple of years, not just the COVID year, just a few different times. So they kind of get a Big Ten game out of the way. And I think a part of that has to do with the fact that Ohio State's going to play Notre Dame a couple weeks later. So that I think that factors in. But Ohio State, Indiana State, who they should beat there. Then they play what's quote unquote a neutral site game. But truthfully, it's probably an hour and a half drive for both teams. Indiana's going to play at the Colt Stadium, Lucas Oil. They're going to play Louisville. So the Louisville Cardinals come to town. Louisville's not too far from there, a couple-hour drive. Akron Zips come to town. Probably should beat them. At Maryland, who I like personally. I don't love, but I like. At Michigan, seems like a loss. Rutgers, they can definitely beat Rutgers. That's homecoming for them. At Penn State, which is super tough. Home against Wisconsin. And then their last 3, if they have any fight left in them, I think they're decent games. At Illinois, home against Michigan State, at Purdue. So if they were trying to make some sort of a bowl game push, beating Indiana, Akron, and maybe Rutgers, that would give them 3 wins. They'd obviously have to try and close out hard against those 3, but ultimately I don't have high hopes for Indiana.
No, they're going to be essentially cannon fodder to Ohio State next weekend. Indiana State, Akron for sure. Rutgers, I think that's going to be a win, but it could go either way. It could be a flip of a coin. And just like Rutgers, they have a pretty tough schedule at Penn State. Maryland, Michigan on the road, Illinois on the road. They just got a bad draw. You're in the East, and that's pretty much like the bottom half of this division is just stuck where they're at. So 2-10, I wouldn't be surprised, but I'll be gracious enough to give them 3-9.
Yeah, what you just said, the bottom half of this division has an absolute uphill battle. It just every week, truthfully. One thing that I've been noticing, and I don't think I brought it up last week, and I know I haven't brought it up yet, so I will now. If you don't follow off-season Big Ten news, this off-season, the Big Ten basically revamped a lot of their TV schedules. your games are not going to be on your traditional channels every single week like they were last year. Like maybe they were on Fox and then maybe they're on NBC. They're going to be all over the board. So truthfully, if you're a fan of the Big Ten and you're trying to watch Big Ten football, there's a chance you're on CBS/Paramount. There's a chance you're on NBC/Peacock. There's a chance that you're on Fox. There's a chance you're on Big Ten Network. There's a chance that I think you're still either on ESPN or ABC. I think that's still a possibility. So just be on the lookout. If obviously when you're trying to, schedule your Saturday, your weekend off to watch football, just know that there's a chance it's going to be on some channel that you maybe don't typically watch, or maybe you have to download Peacock. I know that every Big Ten team has at least one game exclusive to Peacock this year, if I'm not mistaken. Like you can't even watch it on NBC; you'd have to watch it on Peacock. So something to keep in mind.
Well, I just upgraded my Peacock whatever because I had like the $4.99 version. Now I'm at the $5.99 version. I'm balling. And the only reason why I did that is so me and the kids could watch the new Mario movie. So
there you go. There you go. Anything else on Indiana? I know we kind of shit on them and talked a little Big Ten there, but
I mean, you guys got a nice stadium. Jeff and I both been to Bloomington. It's nice there.
Yeah, it was a hell of a time too. Truthfully, hell of a time. Hope to go back someday, maybe even for basketball. But ultimately, your football team is light years behind as of today. So let's talk about another football program that really is light years behind. Michigan State, 5-7 last year, 3-6 in the Big Ten. This team is still trying to find the momentum that it had in 2021 with Kenneth Walker. And I think it's a fair argument that while Mel Tucker comes in 2020 and beats Michigan, has a bad year, but beats Michigan. In 2021, he comes in, beats Michigan again, but he has Kenneth Walker. He hasn't really found lightning in a bottle. I mean, he had a bad year, a Kenneth Walker year, and another bad year. It's shaping up to be another one. I'll let you take this away with ads, losses, stuff like that. This team has been anywhere but in positive news.
Yeah, so Michigan State, it's a pivotal year for year 4 for Mel, 7L Mel. But they got a quarterback shakeup. Peyton Thorne transfers to Auburn. They lose arguably their best player in Keon Coleman. He transferred to Florida State, and from what I remember, he was on a podcast and basically said that the transfer was solely based on NIL. Their offensive line and defensive line could be their strengths. I mean, I said it before, back to the D'Antonio days, the line of scrimmage and their front seven is where they thrive. Jacoby Whitman's back. He's going to be a standout. And, they're entering 2023 here with trying to improve near dead last rated secondary. The last 2 seasons have been absolutely awful. Like, you go back to the 2021 game against Ohio State, it was 49-0 at halftime or something like that, 42-0. Like, they're awful, and Scotty Hazelton's still there. Their coach for that. So hopefully they can. Not hopefully, because I hope these guys get blown out every week. But for their sake, they hope they improve that area. Now on additions, they bring in Nathan Carter. He's a running back from Connecticut. Jared Magnum, also running back. He's from South Florida and previously Colorado. 1,200 yards, 23 TDs in 4 years. 15 of those touchdowns came his junior year. And then I'm going to butcher this dude's name, but Tunmais Adelele, a former 5-star edge. He was in the 2021 class, committed to Texas A&M. Now he's in East Lansing. So they got a couple pass rushers and Woodman and this kid. So, if they coach this kid up, maybe they might have something there. And as I hand the schedule off to you, their over-under is 5.5.
So a second ago, I was just talking about Big Ten scheduling, TV channels, things like that. This team specifically is pretty pivotal. Game 1, they're going to play on a Friday night next weekend. They're at home against Central Michigan. That's very on brand for Michigan State to open on a Friday night. These last couple of years, they've been doing that. This game is 7 o'clock FS1. So kind of a different channel than what you're maybe used to. Week 2, they should easily get a W to start 2-0 against Richmond. So they're going to probably beat Central Michigan. They're going to beat the Richmond Spiders. I don't know how bad or not bad they are. Third game of the year, though, is a banger. The 2-0 Spartans, in my opinion, are going to be at home hosting the number 10 Washington Huskies. That one comes at 5 p.m. on Peacock. I'm high on Washington. I think they're solid. I know you were huge on them last year. I'm sure that momentum is carrying in for a future Big Ten team. We'll get back to that game in a second. Actually, you know what? Take it away. What do you think about Washington? Where do you think they fall here?
I really like them. I like Michael Penix Jr. Talked about him last year, and I kind of rode the wave. I rode their hype train, and then they kind of tapered off, and then they picked it back up again. But he's back for I think his 5th year, 6th year. I don't know, but he's well endowed. I'm about to say well endowed. I don't know what the hell that means. You know what I mean, though. He is well rounded, and should be poised for a solid game. He diced them up last year, and I don't see why he can't do it again.
So at this point, if they are able to knock off Washington at home, Washington probably being ranked 3-0, Michigan State would probably find themselves in the top 25 if I had to guess. They would then have their 4th straight home game against Maryland. Maryland, obviously, Tua's younger brother, still there. I mean, this team has been pretty well coached and pretty good offensively. They take them on Peacock again. But then week 5, they go at Iowa in Kinnick. Bye week at Rutgers. I'm just seeing this. I don't think this is out yet. I'm following FBS schedules. Do you use them?
I did look at that, and they might know something that the rest of the country doesn't know, because a lot of their times that they have set there are obviously listed, and then when you go to ESPN, they're not listed. So when you're about to say what I think you're about to say with the Michigan game, that might say 7:30, but if you go to ESPN, we don't know yet.
This has been heavily speculated that it will be a night game, though. Heavily speculated. And that is what I was about to say. They have the Michigan game October 21st. It's a home game for Michigan State. It's listed as a 7:30 Peacock game. So, again, that's been the heavy rumors. That game will be heavily anticipated with everything that happened last year with the tunnels, and it's going to be interesting with fans coming to town. Michigan fans coming into East Landfill after last year. It'll be interesting. But if it is at night, it could be a barn burner. After that, they're going to Halloween weekend. They're at Minnesota, home against Nebraska, at Ohio State. That game's on Peacock as well. Okay. At Indiana. And then their last game of the year, kind of an interesting one. Rather than hosting Penn State, this is going to be a quote-unquote neutral site, even though it's in their backyard. Game's going to be at Ford Field. So you got the Lions Stadium there, Ford Field in Detroit, Michigan. They're going to host the Penn State Nittany Lions last game of the year, also on Peacock. So as of today, based off of this, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games on Peacock for them. So if you're a Michigan State fan, probably spend the $4.99, $5.99, get yourself some Peacock. But yeah, tough schedule, honestly, and they play a lot of night games. And part of this, I mean, no disrespect meant to Michigan State. I'm just speaking the facts here. They're going to play very little noon games. This seems to be just one of those mid-market teams where, unfortunately, if they want people to view them, it's going to have to be late at night on a Friday, at Peacock, on a Saturday night. It's just like, unless they have a big-time opponent, these games are what they are. What do you think on Michigan State? You have them what was the over-under, 5.5?
5.5. I got them going 6-6.
1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 wins for sure.
Mm-hmm.
There's only 3 coin flips. I don't think they win 2 of the 3.
All right, so I think Michigan State is going to come down to, because just like kind of Ohio State, they still don't know who their quarterback is. It's really between Noah Kim and Caden Hauser. Now, listen to one of these Big Ten podcasts, and one of the analysts on there was saying that he knows Caden Hauser. I think one of these guys, he coached it with him or knows the kid personally and hyping him up and saying that, don't sleep on him, whatever. If either one of these quarterbacks can come anywhere near like Connor Cook or Kirk Cousins, this team's going to go places. But if not, I think it's just going to be middle of the road, tough out for some. But Central Michigan, Richmond, Maryland, because that's their homecoming game. I think they can pull that off. And with Maryland, we'll get to in a second. But Maryland is got Tago. I got a lot of hope for Maryland. But at the same time, they lost their best wide receiver. They lost 3/5 of their offensive line. And like I just said, Michigan State's strength is their D-line, or one of them. Rutgers is the other one. Nebraska, you can say that may be a toss-up for me, but I feel like they could probably upset those guys at home. And then on the road to Indiana. I do have them losing to Penn State at Ford Field, though.
Yeah, I mean, for me, their 3 coin flip games were, I believe, Indiana, Maryland, and Minnesota. I think those are my 3 coin flip games for them. 1 second. Sorry, I'm toggling between seasons here. I was trying to prove my point. So hang on here. So let's see. We got, at Indiana, I think it's a win. But they're 3 coin flips: Nebraska, Minnesota, and Maryland. Okay, Nebraska, Minnesota, Maryland. They played 2 of those teams last season. Okay, their game against Minnesota, 34-7 loss. Their game at Maryland, 27-13 loss. The game that I think they're going to win is Indiana. Last year, 2 overtimes, 39-31 loss. I don't know. I just don't. I'm not giving them these coin flip games. I think they win 1, not 2. Therefore, I have them, I guess, at 4 wins, 5 wins. But they're definitely not. I don't think they're the over. Maybe they're better than I think they are, though. You know what I mean? Maybe they've brought in enough transfers that'll get the job done. But as of right now, I just.
Right. Well, we'll definitely. I mean, September 16th, we'll definitely see how good they are when they got to play a top 10 team.
So. Yeah. And they lost that game last year at Washington. It'll be interesting hosting them, coming off what I believe to be 2 victories. So we'll see. Moving on to Maryland. Anything else on Michigan State?
Negative.
Okay. Oh, good old Maryland. Last year they went 8-5. Okay. And in the Big Ten, even though they were 8-5, they were 4-5 in the Big Ten. So not great. All of their losses come in the Big Ten. They only take care of a couple of wins. This is honestly a better football team half they finish some of these games. I want to quickly recap some of their 2022 because I do think that this is a kind of like they're not going to beat Penn State. They're not going to beat Ohio State. They're not going to beat Michigan as far as like in the standings. But I do think that this is a tough out. I don't know how you view them, but so last year they beat Buffalo, Charlotte, SMU. They lose to Michigan State. They lose to Michigan. They beat Michigan State. They lose to Purdue in a close one. Probably shouldn't have lost that. They beat Indiana, Northwestern, and then they lose a bunch of games at Wisconsin, at Penn State, Ohio State. Those are all fair, I guess. They beat Rutgers. They beat NC State. So, truthfully, have they not lost the Wisconsin, Penn State, Ohio State game? I guess they did play the 3 hardest teams in the Big Ten, and then they lost 2 other ones. I mean, it's tough to beat them up for it, but at the same time, I do think that they have some teams on upset alert. I truly believe that. They took Michigan to 1 score. They took Ohio State to 13 points, but I believe that game was a 7-point game in the 4th quarter, if I'm not mistaken. They did get shut out by Penn State pretty bad, but I don't know. I have high hopes for Maryland. Take it away.
Yeah, so entering the season, Talia Tagovailoa is already the all-time school leader in passing yards. So, poised for a final go around. Mike Loxley, the head coach, that's pretty much his best season, 8-5. I just said 3/5. They actually lost 4 of their 5 offensive lines, so that's going to be huge. Their Roman Hemby, their tailbacks back. Their defense is going to be kind of like a complete reset. A lot of new faces. Raheem Jarrett, their best wide receiver, in my opinion, he signed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They bring in transfers galore. A lot to fill the gaps on the offense. Defensive tackle Jordan Phillips from Tennessee. Jaquan Shepard, who played 4 years at Cincinnati, will help in the back end safety. He's a safety. Josh Gaddis, former Michigan offensive coordinator, is there. Kevin Sumlin we talked about him earlier with the Johnny Manziel doc. He is going to be there as a co-offensive coordinator. So got 2 offensive minds there. It's going to be interesting to see how they play all that out. And I think he was just the head coach for the Houston Gamblers in the USFL. So
I didn't realize that Kevin Sumlin found himself over in Maryland.
Yeah, so it's going to be pretty interesting to watch.
He's got a pretty nice track record with quarterbacks.
Yeah, and like you said, like they went 8-5 last year. Again, like if they redid that schedule a little bit and played in the West, they probably play Michigan in the Big Ten championship game. And then as I hand it off to you for the schedule, their over/under is 7.5.
I think they can hit that, but we'll see. Week 1, they got Townsend Tigers. Never heard of them. They'll crush them. They got Charlotte week 2, the Charlotte 49ers. They'll beat them. Virginia week 3 at home feels like a win. Don't know much about Virginia, not going to lie. Clemson usually has no issue with them. So, I mean, Clemson and Maryland aren't the same, but still. Week 4 is at Michigan State. I do think they're better than Michigan State at this current time. Week 5, home against Indiana. I think that at this point, I think we're looking at a 5-0 football team, probably ranked, where they head to Columbus week 6. Current time on the FBS schedule says 12 or 3:30, and I think that's probably because if this is a ranked matchup, it's probably big noon kickoff at noon. They try to steal the bigger matchups there. Then they got Illinois, who Illinois obviously had a pretty good season last year. I could see them dropping both of these games. But Illinois is at home, so that's in their benefit. Bye week, they'll beat Northwestern, and then it kind of gets really tough for them here. Penn State comes to town. They travel to Nebraska late in the season, where I think Nebraska will have some things figured out. They'll kind of start to have an identity. And at this point, they're still trying to play for what I think is going to be a turned-around program. That'll be a tough outing. Michigan comes to town, so literally they get Penn State and Michigan in 3 weeks. That's really tough. Close the season at Rutgers, which they should win there. I mean, I like them in all, but for sure they're not winning 3 of their games. I like them in the rest, except for maybe 1. So give me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In at least 1 coin flip. You said it was 7.5?
7.5.
They're right there on the teeter-totter, man. It's really, do you think they're going to beat at least one of Illinois and Nebraska?
I think they could possibly beat them both, and I have them at 8-4.
Wow. So time out. You had them losing to Michigan, Penn State, Ohio State, and who else?
I got them losing to Michigan State, Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan.
Please, they're beating Michigan State.
Like we just said, I did. Michigan State's got homecoming that night, and again with the whole, I'm on this whole kick with the line of scrimmage, and you lose a lot of that. And anytime I think this Maryland team is going to be facing a strong front, and it's going to pose problems. And obviously, if your name's Tagovailoa, you got problems staying healthy. So if Tago can't stay healthy and he's in and out of the lineup because he's getting banged up back there, I think this is going to be a long season. But if he stays healthy, and of course, when I'm doing my predictions, that's assuming everyone's healthy for the most part. And so, yeah, I think 8-4 is doable, but I mean, they're not going to be easy by no stretch. But yeah.
Anything else on Maryland?
Yeah, real quick too. To a little nugget here. The last 2 times Maryland's played in Columbus, Ohio State has outscored them 139-31. So, yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
Well, Take that with a grain of salt. Holy cow. All right, we're in some big boy football now. We're on to Penn State. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's see here. Penn State 11-2, 7-2 in the Big Ten. Okay. They won their bowl game, last game of the year too, as well. Their only losses: Michigan, Ohio State. Both teams made the college football playoff. I mean, Penn State was in my opinion, the most underrated team in the country last year. They did not play their best game against Michigan. They had a very good first quarter, maybe even first 18 to 19 minutes, and then it was really downhill from there. Penn State or Ohio State, on the other hand, they played so good against them at home, but I mean, I forget his name, the defensive end for Ohio State, JT, I think is something.
JT Tuimoloau.
Literally had one of the greatest defensive efforts in the history of football. And they take a loss there. They almost beat Ohio State, though. It was a very close game. So Penn State is definitely on the up and up as long as things continue for them. What do you have for adds and losses? I think this is a big time team.
Yeah, so they lose Sean Clifford. He accounted for 10,000 yards and 86 touchdowns as a line. You know, he was there for like 35 years, but key addition. It's really my key loss. I think for the additions though, Dante Cephas, he's a wide receiver from Kent State. Solid production, nothing like too flashy, but they do return 14 starters. Kalen King, one of the nation's best defensive backs, will be there. Solid linebacking core. Katron Allen and Nicholas Singleton. A lot of Penn State fans, a lot of people think that running back duo is better than Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards. I don't think so. They did combine for 2,000 yards and 22 touchdowns. And so we'll see. I mean, Michigan had its way with Saquon Barkley one year, and then the following year, Barkley had his way with Michigan. So, we'll see how James Franklin coaches them up. But, yeah. Oh, and Drew Aller, former five-star quarterback, is calling the plays now. So, yeah. And as I hand the schedule off to you, 9.5 is the over/under.
Yeah, that's a lot. That is a lot. And it feels like they can hit it because last year, obviously, they hit 11. So week 1, open up with West Virginia at home. And I think a whiteout.
The whiteout is the Iowa game.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. So they do have West Virginia at home, though, at night. That place will be rowdy. They got Delaware, the Blue Hens, week 2. They'll beat them. Week 3 at Illinois should beat them. This Iowa game is the big one. They feel better than Iowa for me. And I do believe that Iowa probably drops this game as one of their only losses on the season. At Northwestern, they'll take care of business. They'll play UMass, weirdly enough, in the middle of their schedule. They'll destroy them. At Ohio State, man, that's a coin flip. I personally think Penn State can easily win that game. They feel like the disrespected team here. Obviously, Ohio State's getting a lot of street cred because of what they've been able to do with quarterbacks. If there's any chance that Ohio State's quarterback room isn't what we think it is, Penn State can win this game. Home against Indiana, at Maryland. Home against Michigan, will be there for that. Home against Rutgers, at Michigan State, the Ford Field game we just spoke about on Peacock. This is a tough schedule, but truthfully, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 wins without trying. Their over/under is 9.5.
Yes. Yep.
Does that include bowl games?
No. You know what? I don't think so. I don't think that's assumed. That's a good question, but I obviously only did the regular season myself, so I think that's just regular season.
Okay. I was going to say, because if it's with a bowl game, I like my chances.
Right.
Because they'd only have to win one of the Michigan, Ohio State, Iowa bowl game.
I don't do that because I don't think it's not guaranteed. So what's guaranteed is the regular season schedule, and I think they just base it off that.
Okay. Gotcha. That would make sense. Yeah, no, I like I like Penn State's chances this year of being a very good team. They're unfortunately, last year they were 2 years too soon. This year they're going to be 1 year too soon. They need a 12-team playoff really badly because Michigan and Ohio State still stand in their way.
Yeah.
That's just the facts.
Well, the only thing I can really add else to this is that game against Ohio State. To me, right now, as we talk about this in August, is really intriguing because both have questions at quarterback. Is Drew Aller going to be living to the hype? Is Devin Brown or Kyle McCord for Ohio State going to be living to the hype? And Ohio State's got a lot of love right now because you kind of touched on it a second ago. Are we just going to assume that Ohio State just rolls in another quarterback in there that's automatically good? Do we just assume that, And I don't think you can, as a realist. So I guess by the end of September, beginning of October, we'll really find out what these two teams are made of, especially on offense. And, we'll see who wins this game. And I think the defense is good enough to at least get them 10-2. So I got them losing to Michigan and Ohio State, winning everything else.
Yeah, like I said, they're just they need that 12-team playoff really badly. Ohio State, you ready?
Let's do it.
11-2. Losses to Michigan and Georgia. Pretty impressive. 8-1 in the Big Ten. Yeah, I mean they took Georgia down to the wire. Wide left field goal. Otherwise, they're playing the Natty. So Ohio State, nothing to sneeze at. What do you got on them?
Yeah, they second highest scoring offense with 44 a game. CJ Stroud finishes like in all-time leader categories, pretty much top to bottom or damn close. Or sorry, second all-time. He's like right behind JT Barrett and almost anything. Defense is going to be under the second year Jim Bowles. Brian Hartline got promoted to offensive coordinator after already being passing game coordinator. And we just talked about a solid running back duo. Now you got Travion Henderson and Mine Williams. They combined for just under 1,400 yards and 21 tutties. And then you have that quarterback battle right now that we just talked about. Kyle McCord has got 12 games under his belt and one start from 2021. So you'd think that Kyle McCord has got a leg up, but Ryan Day keeps saying that they're not doing the wrong things. They just have not stood out from one another. So still we still don't know. They also got another quarterback, Tristan Gibbia from Oregon State, probably going to be the third or fourth guy. Lincoln Kienholz, he was a former Washington commit. He's impressing there, I guess you could say. So he'll probably be 3 or 4 battle for that spot. The offensive line, that unit, from what I've read about camp, is hot and cold, not really impressing or performing that well. So, Buckeye fans can chirp at me if they want, but they're trying to replace DeJuan Jones and Paris Johnson, both through tackles. So they're going to have some new guys up front, and they're going to have to go up against some really good pass rushers this year. And then for losses, CJ Stroud, JSN, and then 2 offensive linemen I just talked about. They get corner Davison Agbino's son from Ole Miss. He played in 13 games last year, 37 total tackles, 5 pass defense. He was looking to be a Michigan guy or deciding between Michigan and Ohio State, and Ohio State. They get a new place kicker from USC, Parker Lewis, 74% field goal percentage there. And I only wrote that down because the whole Noah Ruggles thing. They got defensive back Jahad Carter from Syracuse, 3 seasons, 136 tackles, 5 picks. And as I hand it off to you for the schedule, 10.5 over under.
So it's really, do you have them going undefeated or not? That's really what it comes down to, right?
Yeah, but there is just one looming game that they face early on that I wouldn't be surprised if they trip up, but I wouldn't be surprised if they beat them.
So week 1, they're at Indiana. They should take care of that one pretty easily. You'll see the target practices. You'll get to see the showcase of whoever's at quarterback. Week 2, Youngstown State Penguins, they'll smoke them. Week 3, Western Kentucky Hilltoppers, they'll smoke them. Week 4, though, September 23rd at night. If I'm not mistaken, Michigan plays at night this week too, don't they? Don't they play Bowling Green by chance? Do you know? It's kind of weird because usually Michigan, Ohio State don't play at night, or do they play the 16th at night? Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. But so you got Ohio State at Notre Dame. I know you've talked about this one. This one's going to be on Peacock. I think that this is a barn burner, man. Last year at Ohio State, that was a barn burner. Both teams are going to have a couple games under their belt. Let's just, for funsies here, let's take a look at who Notre Dame's going to play the first 3. Week 0, they play Navy.
Yep.
Okay. Then they're going to play the Tennessee State Tigers. Then they're at NC State. Then they have Central Michigan. So they're going to play 4 games. Okay. Mm-hmm. Then they play Ohio State. Man, dude, it is shaping up that Notre Dame could be well oiled by then. I want to see what Notre Dame looks like through the first couple before I really make an honest opinion here. But I don't think that this is just an automatic win for Ohio State. Home against Maryland, they should take care of business. At Purdue, should take care of business. Home against Penn State, man, that's another very tough one for Ohio State. Years past, this is probably almost an automatic win. But Penn State on the come up, that'll be fun. At Camp Randall, at night. That spells dangerous. Shouldn't be, but it could be. Never know. At Rutgers, home against Michigan State, who they've obliterated for like 10 years running. Home against Minnesota, and then at Michigan. Last time they played at Michigan, 2021. We know the results there. That'll be, no matter what the record is, that'll be a fun game. But, yeah, Ohio State, man, this doesn't feel like what it was last year where we're just calling W's out. W. Right. I think there's a couple of challenges here. I think at Notre Dame's a challenge. I think home against Penn State's a challenge. I'm intrigued by Wisconsin. I do think they probably win that. And then at Michigan, obviously, is a big challenge. I can't remember the last time that Ohio State had a season where it's like they'll struggle with 3 of their games. That's just never the case. So I do think that there's value in betting the under on the 10.5.
Yeah, so I think their floor is 9, their ceiling is 11.
You had the over under. Do you happen to have the money value or no?
I do not.
Oh, okay.
Do not. But with that Notre Dame game, I think that could potentially be an instant classic. Sam Hartman, Notre Dame's quarterback, who came from Wake Forest, damn near 14,000 yard passing and 110 touchdowns. So, I made that case last week, and you brought up the John O'Korn incident, but he's got stats on paper, and again, both these programs are going to be touchy-feely on feeling out what their quarterback play is going to be like at this point. Maybe not, but it's going to be their first true test. That Penn State game, like I said, for the Penn State preview, like we're in August now, but where is their quarterback situation going to be then? The Wisconsin at Camp Randall, the last time Wisconsin beat Ohio State at Camp Randall was in 2010. They're 9-0 versus Rutgers, probably going to be 10-0. Ohio State has outscored Rutgers the last 3 games 150-50. Michigan State, that's going to be a win. They just not have the weapons to keep up with Ohio State, assuming Ohio State is at least a sliver of what they've been the last 2 years. And then for the Michigan game, I think this is going to be probably the rowdiest a Michigan crowd has ever been. If Michigan is, God forbid, losing to Penn State or somewhere down before here, but if Michigan is undefeated, regardless of what Ohio State is, Ohio State could be, 2-win season. And I think this is going to be the loudest the Big House is ever going to be. But I really think that it's going to be between 9 and 11 wins. And like I said a little bit earlier, we can't just assume Ohio State just plugs and plays the quarterback room forever. And we've seen how 2011 went. Braxton Miller comes in as a freshman and they were damn near dead last in pass efficiency. So, and they win 6 games, lose their bowl game, I think, to Florida that year. 6-7 was overall, but we'll see what happens. Are we going to see Joe Bauserman out there for the first couple of games, or are we going to see, Justin Fields?
Yeah, a second ago I did say there was probably value in betting under. Unfortunately they're not. The odd payouts are exactly the same on the over and the under here, which is kind of weird.
Yeah,
because the chances of Ohio State only winning 10 games feels low, but they are minus 113 on the under and minus 113 on the over. So yeah, I agree with you. I just don't want to constantly come off as a hater. Like, obviously I hate Ohio State. I wish they'd lose every game. But like, I don't have an issue with telling you that I think they'll obliterate somebody. I don't think at Notre Dame, home against Penn State, and at Michigan are gimme games, especially when 2 of them are on the road. And they have at Wisconsin. And again, they remain to be seen. I don't want to just hype Wisconsin up. I know you're a little higher on them than I am, but Camp Randall at night with what could be a pretty solid team. Never know.
Right.
If Ohio State was plus money to finish under, it might be worth a value bet there. But
yeah,
as of right now, it's like, coin flip. Not doing Michigan today. We'll save that. Anything else on the East as we sit here?
Not really. Just I could talk sports with you all day, but I'm just really happy that the season's here. But next week Michigan. Breaking that down with you. That's gonna be an action-packed episode. Probably gonna go for a long time, and that's not a complaint. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, a couple more things here. Just quick opinions on some week zeros. Navy at Notre Dame. Sorry, Navy versus Notre Dame. This game's gonna be played in Dublin, Ireland. Opinions on that game, Notre Dame?
Yeah, I did. However, I had a free bet via FanDuel. So it's still open right now because I parlayed it with the UFC fights this last weekend and some baseball and college football. So it's like $5 to win 100. But I took the under on this matchup. It's 50.5.
It's 15.5 as the under, meaning total points?
Total points over under is 50.5.
Oh, 50.
Yes.
I thought you said 15. I'm like, bro, that's a bad bet.
No.
I was like, why is it that low?
50.5. It's the first game of the year for Notre Dame, and I hate watching Michigan play academies, and they're tough outs, and they're going to squeeze the air out of the ball. The time of possession is going to be huge, obviously. So yeah, I got the under. I think Notre Dame's going to win, but I got the under.
Not that the game's going to be that crazy, but the reigning, defending, undisputed Heisman Trophy winner, Caleb Williams, in town. Number 6 USC hosts San Jose State. They kick their season off. They're going to obviously win. Opinions on Caleb Williams potentially getting a second straight Heisman?
Yeah, very, very possible. The over-under on this game is 66. So, I don't think USC's defense is going to be all that great this year, but it doesn't matter. They're still going to blow out San Jose State at least, and it'll be big. as the 8 p.m. we'll probably still be drafting or at least finishing up, so I'll probably throw that on there right when kickoff hits. But,
if I had to guess, we'd probably be waxing Corey at that point. So earlier in the pod, I did mention that there are some exclusive Peacock games this year. I actually found the list.
Okay.
I thought I knew this one, but I didn't want to say because I wasn't 100% sure. The very first Peacock exclusive is Saturday, September 2nd, Eastern Carolina at Michigan. That is a Peacock exclusive for opening day for Michigan, so interesting there. Week 2, it's Delaware at Penn State, Peacock exclusive. So not really big-time matchups, more or less just big-time teams playing.
Mm-hmm.
Week 3, we got 2 games in a row. One of them big, one of them just a big name. Central Michigan at Notre Dame. You get the Notre Dame game there. And then the second one there, I think this is a pretty big game. This is Washington at Michigan State. We just talked Michigan State could be 3-0 here or 2-0. Yeah, 2-0. And then obviously playing Washington, who's ranked. And then here's the thing. Penn State gets an exclusive game with Iowa still, Ohio State, and Wisconsin, and then 3 additional Peacock games. We already talked. We think one of them is Michigan State night game there. That could be a Peacock exclusive. Basically what I'm telling you, if you're a Big Ten fan, you root for Michigan State, Ohio State, you probably might want to invest in a couple bucks in Peacock. Probably not be a bad idea.
So. Enjoy it this season at least while you can, because I would assume that $4.99 or $5.99, whatever it is, it's eventually probably going to be in like 10, 15 in a couple of years.
Yeah, and if you're not familiar, it's very easy to add for a week and just cut it. Or even, I mean, literally, if you bought it in September and you kept it just for football, you'd pay what, $20? I mean, it's not that much. So, Peacock to exclusively stream games featuring 7 of the top 25 teams and 5 of the top 13: Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, Washington, Notre Dame, Wisconsin, and Iowa as of today. So they're definitely excited about it, obviously. I do think Peacock's a good watch. I don't know how much you watch Sunday Night Football on there. I usually watch it, Sunday Night Football, on Peacock in my bedroom when I'm going to bed. It's a pretty solid watch, so no one complains there. Anything else? We talked Harbaugh, the new Peloton deal with Michigan. We talked Manziel. We talked the East. We talked some streaming deals. Talked a little Ohio State for you Buckeyes out there. Man, anything else?
Well, we talked about it for a split hair second before we started recording, but one of the best offensive minds in the game, Shane, Rich Rodriguez, is taking on UTEP at 5:30 on Saturday. He is the new head coach at Jacksonville State. Went 9-4 last season, so watch out. He's on the come up.
Oh boy! Oh.
For those of you, all right. So for you guys are like, what the hell are you talking about? So again, what we always mention our fantasy football league all the time here, but like our boy Shane is very opinionated, and so am I. But in our fantasy football chat, somehow got brought up about Rich Rodriguez. I don't even remember why, but
I got to preface it since you don't remember. Okay. First off, Shane is a very pessimistic Michigan fan, almost worse than Dan. Dan's come around and seen the light a little bit. Shane's is still like that, but he is 1,000% live or die Detroit Lions.
Yes.
And he was defending Dan Campbell as being a better head football coach than Rich Rodriguez. Take it away.
So all I said was that Rich Rodriguez was a good offensive mind. And then he went on the thing about where Pat White, he lived off the coattails of Pat White. Well, and then Steve Slayton. So I decided to defend Rich Rodriguez, which I never thought I'd ever do in my lifetime. And I said, the whole Rich Rodriguez Michigan thing is a whole other story. The backdoor deals going on, and didn't get any help while he was in Ann Arbor. Anyways, that's beside the point. But I also defended him when he went to Arizona. Had at least a 3-4 year stretch there where he was making noise, beat Oregon at their height a few times, beat a couple other ranked teams. And all I said was, he's a great offensive mind, good offensive mind, whatever. And but yeah, Shane was throwing the hammer down on that, and we weren't getting personal, but I called him a few names and whatever, but that's just me, busting balls. But yeah, we're going back and forth. But again, I did something I never thought I'd do, and that was pump up Rich Rodriguez.
Yes. Have you happened to look over, only because we're here, we're bullshit at this point. Have you happened to look over the week 1 matchups?
Yeah, kind of.
They're not good.
Like from top, like all from around all the conferences and whatnot.
There's one ranked matchup, okay?
Yeah.
And it's Sunday night, Labor Day weekend, but it is Sunday night, okay? But there is not another ranked matchup. The ranked one is LSU versus Florida, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But legitimately, all the ranked teams, they don't play anybody. North Carolina, South Carolina is arguably the best game.
I'll give you one. I just freaking seen it. Where the hell is it at? So, it's technically next Thursday, so it is, I guess, on the fence of week 0, week 1, whatever you want to call it. I would say it's probably week 1, but Florida at Utah. I think that has potential.
Yeah,
to be.
no, I agree. That I do like that. That's fun. Florida at Utah's fun.
But really,
again,
outside.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, really outside of that, that's all I got. Yeah.
Okay, here's one, and this
Okay.
will probably be game day if I had to guess. Colorado at TCU.
Okay.
Strictly for storyline purposes.
Right.
Deion Sanders in Colorado head to TCU, who is a Final Four team. That feels like a big time matchup. But man, there's not much here.
No, I'll probably for personal bias, I'll probably chirp in on the Toledo Illinois game. That's at 7.
No, you won't.
Why?
You'll be at the game.
Michigan game?
Yeah, you'll be at the Michigan game.
Well, I mean it's at noon. I'll be on the road by then.
What game are you talking about?
Toledo at Illinois, or did I skip?
The 7:30.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fun in Big Ten country in Toledo area. That's a fun game. I'll give you that.
Right. But yeah, and then Sunday, LSU Florida State, not too bad.
Yeah,
And then
that was the best game.
Yeah.
But that's a Sunday night.
Yeah.
Like at that point, I mean, and then obviously Clemson plays Monday. Is it just me or has Clemson played Labor Day weekend on Monday night now for like 5 straight years?
Have they? I haven't noticed.
I think they have. It's like a new tradition. They open up on Monday night on Labor Day weekend. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm completely overthinking this, but I think I'm right. But I don't know. I just think they have. It feels like they have, at least.
They played on September 5th last year at Georgia Tech. That was a Monday.
Yeah. What about the year before? I think I'm on to something here.
They played Georgia at prime time on a Saturday that year on 2020.
That was a Saturday night.
2020 was a Saturday. 2019 was a Thursday against Georgia Tech.
Okay, never mind. I'm wrong. I knew they played last year, so I guess I was just fresh in my mind. But yeah, they have been playing on weird nights to start the year, though. Thursdays, Mondays, whatever. But
yeah.
All right. Anything else, my man?
Nope, that's it, buddy. We'll talk next week.
Yeah, I'll see you Saturday, where the Busch Light Peaches will be flowing, as they are now. Okay. We'll talk a little Michigan next week. Lots of things planned for next week's pod. It'll probably be a long one, like Dan said. Hopefully, you guys are intrigued. I can't wait. Michigan is on the horizon. We're literally 10 days away from kickoff. That's what we live for. So, 15-0 natty or bust season is pending. Soon to start. We're out. Go Blue.
Go Blue.